is a great challenge. Let's take the word country, or guo. We have already learned that guo has 11 strokes. Now, where's the key? The radical. In this case, it is 3 strokes. If we were to look it up in the dictionary, we would start checking any of the 214 radicals. In this case, it is the 3-stroke word for mouth. Now we have to count the rest of the strokes, not including the 3 we have already counted. There are 8 strokes. Count down 8 strokes in the dictionary and find the character guo we are looking for. Then that refers to the page in the dictionary where we can search for the word. There is more to it, but we will let it go for now. Point being, not easy to find a character you don't know. Another complication, there are only so many sounds in Chinese. That means you can't say a word and ask what it means. For instance, the word sure takes up 10 pages in the dictionary. And all of the words have different meanings. That is one of the reasons why they have different tones. In Mandarin, there are 4 tones. In Cantonese, there are 8 tones. I only learned Mandarin, and the tones are flat, rising, and rounded, and down. Demonstrate. Ma, 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 ma. And all mean different things. And some sounds mean more than one thing. That is why you will see Chinese, when they are talking to one another, often use their finger to write on their hand to show what character they mean. Amusing to see them, if they make a mistake with their finger writing, they will rub their hands together, erasing what they wrote, and write it again. There are literally hundreds of dialects of Chinese, but only about 3 or 4 main dialects: Mandarin, Cantonese, Shanghainese, and Hakka. In 1911, Dr. Sun Yat-sen declared that Mandarin would be the official language of the country. Official or not, the people went on speaking in the dialect they were born with, and the schools did not change the way they were teaching. Interesting to note that the difference between the spoken dialects is like an Italian trying to speak to a Frenchman in Italian. But the written language is the same for all dialects. So a Mandarin speaker can't be understood when he speaks to some with Cantonese as a native language, but they can understand the writing. When Mao Zedong came into power, he forced that Mandarin would be taught in all the schools and that everyone, no matter their status or age, would learn a certain number of words in Mandarin. And Mao was strong enough to make that happen. Interesting also, Mandarin was not his native dialect when he was growing up. It was rumored he never mastered spoken Mandarin. There was no one brave enough to correct him, though. Mao did some horrible things in his country, but also some good ones. For instance, he commanded that the written language be simplified. The one character we've already talked about is guo, used to take 11 strokes to write. Now it's only 8. People have often asked me to say their name in Chinese. Not really possible. There is no direct translation. Sometimes they do a sounds like. Other times it's a descriptive. For instance, San Francisco, spoken in Chinese, means Old Gold Mountain, named at the time of the gold rush. Washington, D.C. is pronounced Washington. Absolutely no useful meaning in Chinese. The country China is Zhengguo, meaning Central Kingdom, and the U.S., Meiguo, a beautiful country. Suspect that the Chinese were naming the U.S. today, it would be a different name than beautiful. Now a little more about the written characters and other things that seem strange to foreigners. Among one of the strangest, I think, is the English word thing. T-H-I-N-G. When translated into Chinese, they say dongxi. Dongxi in English is east-west. I have asked many Chinese, and the answer has always been, because that is the way we say it. Let's look at the character for girl. Now the character for boy. Write them together as one character, and that means good. Get it? Boy and girl together is good. Now take the character for girl and write it twice as one word. That means argument. Two girls together means argument. Certainly that can only be in China. Now count the strokes with me as I write this character. Count the strokes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Should be 24. That is 24 strokes. The meaning of that character is salt. S-A-L-T. Think back how many times in your life have you written or read the word salt. That is one of the best examples of the difficulty in reading Chinese. Why would anyone want to spend any time learning how to write that character? Now I would be remiss in my duties if I left without teaching you how to say something in Chinese. Something you will remember. It is common in many areas of the world when seeing a friend to ask how they are. How are you doing? Usually, they don't really want to know, it's just a greeting. But we must answer. A common answer in Chinese is Mama Hu Hu. Let's all say that now. Ma, hu, hu. One more time, slowly. Ma, hu, hu. That literally means horse, horse, tiger, tiger. Or, I don't feel as calm as a horse or as fierce as a tiger. Good answer. Having spent much of my life involved with the Chinese, I have many stories to tell about them. One story I will leave you with. Working in the embassy, it was my job to become familiar with the Chinese. Who are the strong? Who are the weak? The leaders, the followers, the honest and dependable, and so on. I would call on the Chinese and entertain them, often in my home. One evening, I was invited to dine with the commander of the Chinese Naval Academy. I normally took a small gift on such occasions. This time, I took a bottle of good brandy. The wife spoke no English and was not used to drinking alcohol. She drank some of the brandy and got very happy and talkative, telling me about her life as a young girl in Shanghai. She went on and on. I may have been the only American she had ever spoken to in Chinese. At one point, I interrupted her and said, "Mrs. Yu, it is certainly wonderful to be born Chinese." She took my hand, patted it, and said, "It is not so bad to be an American." Thank you for listening. Any questions?
In English, how do you say that word grow or go, or you mentioned several times it's a
Guo.
grow? What's the letters?
It's Guo. It means country.
Oh, whoa. Okay.
Guo.
And this is China. This is China.
Questions? Yes, sir?
How did they come up with a new word like atomic bomb or something like that? It's not in the old Chinese.